Okay, what's going on everyone? Doc here, and today I want to talk about Mojo. Mojo is a really interesting addition to the game. He looks definitely funkier than even Warlock. His animations, however, are phenomenal, and he really is honestly a really good addition to the Mystic class. He deals with buffs differently than other champions. He definitely punishes those who don't have infinite duration buffs, but he has a way to deal with those infinite duration buffs as well. He has some really good damage ramp up, and honestly, he's a ton of fun to play with his prompt system. It's pretty basic to hit them every once in a while, but you get to play him with a mostly normal playstyle, which is it's a nice breath of fresh air compared to someone that could require a really complex playstyle like Nova or Longshot. So, before we start, I am not associated with Kabam or Marvel in any way. They just provide these champions to me and other content creators for testing and for a couple days and video making purposes, and then we return them. So today I'm going to go over all of his abilities, show a ton of gameplay, synergies, and give my thoughts on him. So let's get started. So first off, Mojo's passive. He gains 30% less power from landing hits, and he has a lower physical resistance. Now, one of the most important things about Mojo is his audience prompts. So at the start of a fight, after a little of a timer, he's going to receive a random prompt from the audience. And so what happens is that the audience wants either you or the opponent to perform a certain action. And on the right here, wonderful chart by Kat Murdoch, I'll have a link to her Twitter down in the description, created this chart of all 12 of the possible audience prompts, and either champion can complete those when these prompts are up. So if either champion does, the prompt is completed, and Mojo will gain 1 million followers, which is a orange thumbs up passive on himself. I'll talk about what followers do in a second. If the prompt expires without being completed, however, the prompt is then failed, and Mojo's going to lose 5 million followers. When a prompt is completed, Mojo's going to activate his anti-life field passive for 7 seconds, and that has a couple different effects. When the anti-life field expires or the prompt is failed, so after that 7 seconds, or if you don't get the prompt, it's going to happen immediately after, you're going to receive a new prompt. Prompts are paused during any special attack by either champion, and they're unaffected by ability accuracy. Now, if you need to switch prompts without losing any followers, that's when his heavy attack comes in. So if a prompt is active, you can replace it with a new prompt. It's not going to affect his followers anyway. The incineration there is from a synergy with Mojo. I'll talk about synergies as well at the end of his abilities. His heavy attack is most useful if you happen to get a prompt that you can't land for some reason. Say if the opponent doesn't have any buffs on them, but you need to nullify the buff, you can use your heavy attack to quickly switch and get a new prompt for that reason. So what are his followers? He gains additional passives based on how many followers he has. His followers is that orange thumbs up on Mojo's side right there. And he's also going to place hater buffs, which are orange thumbs down on the opponent. So he gains these additional passives based on how many followers he has. At 1 million, anytime a buff expires or is nullified off the opponent, Mojo's going to heal for 3% of his missing health over 2 seconds. So this does not stack, and it's only 3% of his missing health, so the more health he's missing, the higher health he's actually going to gain. At 3 million followers, whenever a prompt is completed, Mojo gains up to 50% of a bar power based on how many followers he has. At 5 million, completing a prompt has a 100% chance to place one of those hater buffs on the opponent. Hater buffs have no effect. They're similar to Dr. Voodoo and Man-Thing, where it's placing a buff on the opponent, which will help you to, say, expire or nullify those buffs to use to complete some of his prompts. So Mojo's anti-life field, like I said, it's activated whenever he completes a prompt. When it's active, any buff triggered on the opponent while it's active, so if the buff triggers before and then you activate your anti-life field, it's not going to get a reduced duration, but any buff triggered while it's active has a 90% reduced duration. Anytime a buff is nullified or expired on the opponent, Mojo passively degenerates them, and also the anti-life field is going to be paused during any special attack. Mojo's SP1 has a 100% chance on the first hit to nullify one buff from the opponent. Mojo's SP2, if the anti-life field is not active, you're going to trigger its degeneration as if it was. And if the anti-life field is active, you're going to re-trigger its degeneration again. For every million followers Mojo has, up to 5 billion. So you'll activate 5 of those degenerations. Finally, Mojo's SP3. It's going to automatically complete the current prompt, and it's going to trigger the anti-life field degeneration just like the SP2. For every million followers Mojo has, up to 5 million. It also has a wonderful animation. Mojo's signature ability, Big Mojo Energy, has a lot of really helpful abilities for him. So, first off, when he activates his anti-life field, if he has at least 5 million followers, so another benefit to having 5 million followers, he also gains a Fury buff for the duration of the anti-life field, for 7 seconds, increasing attack rating by 200% of his base attack rating at Sig 200. So it can help his damage out a lot. Additionally, he's going to start the quest with 1 million persistent subscribers, up to a cap of 5 million. So the subscribers basically turn into followers at the start of a fight. So at the beginning of a fight, each subscriber gives him a followers, and his followers can never fall below his subscribers. If he wins a fight, he adds more followers than subscribers, then he gains 1 million. If he loses a fight, then he's going to lose 1 million subscribers as well. So his followers has no cap, but there's no real benefit to being at more than 5. So this is really helpful when you ramp up to kind of set a cap and make sure that you stay at 5, since your followers can never fall below your subscribers. If you're at that 5, you can never have less than 5 million followers. Mojo has 7 synergies, 2 of which are activated just by himself. So first off, with Long Shot, 50% chance to not lose followers when failing a prompt. With Modok, heavy attacks incinerate the opponent. You already saw that synergy in action, dealing 80% of his attack rating as energy damage. So if you have that Fury buff from his signature ability, that Incinerate is going to be dealing a really good amount. With Psylocke, when the opponent completes a prompt, say if he were to bait them into completing the whole block prompt or something similar, they're going to steal 10% of their current power. With Hulk, Ragnarok, and Korg, whenever a prompt is completed, Mojo gains an unstoppable buff for 5 seconds. Finally, the 2 with himself, 5% power rate that only goes to himself, and also on every other champion, except for Mojo, 7% offensive power rate. Okay, so I've got a bunch of gameplay here. I'm just going to kind of generally talk about my thoughts on Mojo over it. So first off, I'm going to start off in uncollected monthly here with full synergies. So I'm running the Unstoppable synergy, the Power Gain synergy from Psylocke, and I forget what other one. Basically anything possible. The Modok synergy for the incineration. But none of his synergies I felt were necessary. They had some pretty interesting benefits. Increased damage from the heavy attacks from that damage over time. Gaining Unstoppable can be helpful, especially if the nodes increase the duration for Act 6. But I don't see them being major parts of his utility in any way. Overall, I think Mojo is a really interesting champion. He is pretty simple to play as long as you don't make him more complex than he needs to be. All you basically have to do is complete a prompt every 7 seconds. You get the anti-life field, and that's pretty much it. So the reason I'm uncollected here is because I wanted to show his ramp up over a bunch of different fights. So you already saw Beast, and now I'm on to two persistent subscribers, and then I gain more followers and gain more subscribers that way. So I'm going to show 5 fights here, building up his persistent charges, and kind of show how it changes the beginning of the fight, because it really is a little bit different. Missed the SP2 there, but luckily it's fine because the SP2 is all beams, so you gain a ton of distance off of it. When blocked hit comes up, sometimes I'll parry, sometimes I'll just dash back and hold block, but if I parry, then it's about enough duration if I just hold the block after the parry to get that full 1.5 seconds I think that you need. And the SP2 kills him. For the most part, the SP2 was killing everything. That one was about a minute. This one is going to be kind of slow because this Deadpool X-Force is running buffet. So use the heavy attack to switch prompts there. Got stun a champion. Most of the prompts I found myself, especially in my complete Realm of Legends run, and also in this, I found myself hitting them either by accident or just having to do something very short quickly. Obviously, having a sheet like Cat Murdoch's wonderful graphic that kind of tells you what each icon means is a little bit better, since that way, if you miss the HUD text there, it only stays up for a short amount of time, but the prompt obviously lasts a lot longer than that. It's nice to have as a quick reference guide in case you forget. But most of the prompts are easy enough to hit. Like punish a special attack, I just need to get him to a bar of power, and then I just punish a special attack. If I can't land that prompt, then I just land a quick heavy attack. The only time when that will be more of an issue is in a situation where I can't land a heavy attack because they're stun immune or something like that. Got punished a special attack a couple times there. Like I said, this is a buffet Deadpool X4, so he's getting a little bit of healing from that. But degeneration is going to kill him off there. Mojo's degeneration damage is really, really good. Once his ramp up starts and he actually lands more than 2 or 3 degenerations right off the bat from his first SP2, it is very, very good. And it's really easy to get up to an SP2 as well, not only because Mystic Dispersion acts very well with his hater buffs that he places on the opponent, because those go away giving me power, and I'm running 3 of 3 Mystic Dispersion here, which is really nice. But also that 50% power gain, 50% of a bar power gain from just completing the prompts themselves. So his power gain is really, really good, even though he gains less power rate just in his base passive abilities. This is the final fight of Uncollected, fully ramped up now, so going to get that Fury buff. Hater buff's going away, my power gain is going fast, up to an SP2 in 15 hits, SP2, SP2, and Degeneration goes dead. That fast. This is Uncollected, did it in 19 hits, that was incredible. And that's what he looks like at full ramp up, and you can hit full ramp up in any fight. It's just a matter of speed at the beginning of the fight. Now I'm into Act 6. So this is 626, and I have 2 fights here. So first off, Angela. Angela has more buffs than some other lower buff heavy champions, but hers are mostly infinite duration. You saw the regeneration go away very quickly there, but I'm still going to be using my SP1 every once in a while to get rid of a couple of her buffs and give myself some healing off of that. Because every time I'm nullifying the buff while my field is up, that causes the degeneration on her and the regeneration on myself. Right there, prompt hit for use a special attack, so I launch off the SP1. I actually get the SP2 dodge that time, missed it the first time. And it's a pretty basic rotation. I'm just doing normal 5-hit combos, nothing special. Whenever I'm using a special, it's pausing both my prompt duration and also the anti-life field duration. Right here, I get hold block, I think, so I'm going to go far back and just keep holding block there, land the shadow parry on the second of her hits, and just right back into it. Landing prompts is all about how complex you make it. Really, for the most part, the prompts are pretty easy to hit. Landed a quick cheeky heavy there. We got the dash attack. I decided to land another heavy, switch it to a back into the corner. Landed another SP2 because that, again, the back into the corner one was another one that I just happened to land by accident. Dodge hit's a really easy one to get. Now I have an SP2 and I didn't even need it. So great fight against Angela. Only 92 hits for her 200,000 health, and we dealt with her regen really well there since I had my anti-life field up most of the time. Stun a champion, all I gotta do is parry, and she's stunned. Get that up there. Right away, activate the anti-life fields. Basically, Mojo's all about keeping the anti-life field up for the longest duration you can, because especially when you have 5 million followers, then you're gonna get that Fury buff, which has the really big attack boost. I've seen some people play him with suicides, and I have to say I don't think suicides are the way to go with Mojo. Not only are you probably fine just off of your own damage and off that 200% boost they get when your anti-life field is off, but his regen isn't strong enough to outdo recoil, but it's strong enough to outdo most block damage. And this is a R3 in Act 6. Most of the time, your top attackers in Act 6 are going to be higher than an R3, and he was doing perfectly fine. One thing that I kind of passed over there, but when I get the prompts to end a buff, one thing you'll notice is that I can actually end the dexterity buff by landing a hit and that ticks away on its own very quickly, and that counts because it's still ending a prompt on myself. So that's a pretty quick tip there. SP2 is going to crit for 8k, and I think the degen is just going to finish her off. Didn't even need that heavy attack, but I landed it anyway. So Gamora didn't really have a lot of buffs. Black Bolt does, and this is also 636 resistor path. But the problem is all of these buffs are infinite duration. So Mojo's anti-life field isn't going to help with his 90% buff duration, and he's not going to be getting those what do you call it, the degeneration damage as well, because those buffs aren't going to be falling off. I'm also not going to be getting the regeneration. So I'm going to adapt a little bit here and use my SP1 a couple more times, because basically I want my SP1 to get a consistent always nullify on the first hit, and it's going to place that degeneration and also give me that 3% of missing health regeneration. So that's a pretty interesting ability he has, in addition to reducing the duration of buff. So I got the end buff prompt there. I'm just going to launch my SP1 again. You do kind of have to pay attention to his prompts, but like I said, they're really not that difficult to hit. It just takes a little bit of extra care every couple seconds, if that. And half of them I'm hitting on accident, or just stuff I would do in a normal fight, back into a corner, land a parry, knock the opponent down. If you have a prompt that can be completed with the heavy attack, such as knock down the opponent, and you use your heavy attack, it'll actually complete the prompt and it won't switch it before. That's something I haven't mentioned yet. But that's just something to know. It doesn't switch it if the heavy attack will complete it, because there is a prompt called charge a heavy attack, which technically landing it switches it, but you can still get knocked down an opponent with the heavy attack. It still does work. I'm getting a couple use a special attack prompts here, and those are great because I'm just using them anyways, and they just happen to be proccing at the right time. So sometimes you do get lucky with prompts, sometimes you get unlucky with prompts. Punish special attack, he just launches it right away and I don't really have to worry about it. But if that was something like end a buff and I had my SP2 already, it might have been a little bit more difficult. But again, I could use dexterity and wait for the hit him and let my dexterity buff fall off again. So really, it wasn't too much of an issue. Right here, I get end a buff. Use my SP1 right before I get right before I got 2 bars of power. End that. Also got the regeneration. I'm doing pretty well here, 65%. Despite taking quite a bit of block damage, his regeneration helps to build it back. He's similar to Man-Thing in that regard, in his sustainability. And because of that sustainability, I think he really, he takes everything that I really liked from Man-Thing. Strong damage over time, sustainability, and buff punish. Kind of puts his own spin on it, making it so that he only punishes buffs that don't have an infinite duration, which honestly is better, because if you were fighting him on defense, then I think a lot of his abilities don't happen because of defense. He's going to be an incredibly strong defender, and because of that, I think they had to tune down a couple things that would have been useful on offense, but honestly, if you ask me, that's totally fine. But he also just has some really strong damage ramp up offensively if you build up a lot of followers. I got end a buff here. I think I'm going to end my dexterity buff again. And yeah, I think he's everything Man-Thing was plus more. He may not have the best way of dealing with infinite duration buffs, but he can deal with them with very little issue. Again, I'm realizing that this was about when I realized I could end that dexterity buff to get that bonus, and it was no issue. So if you haven't noticed already, this is Life Cycle Star-Lord, but those degenerations are passive, so I have no worry about that at all. They're still going to deal their damage. Land 2 heavy attacks there. Have the block, held it. SP2, going to do some insane damage here. Knock him down just in time for the degeneration to kill him. So that's Mojo. I'm going to end the gameplay there. If you want to see more gameplay of Mojo, earlier today I already uploaded a complete Realm of Legends kill. Mojo did the whole thing on his own. I used a couple synergies. They weren't necessary, but helped out a little bit. So you can go check out that video. I'll have a link to that in the description. It's on 2x speed, but if you turn it on to 0.5, you can watch it at the normal speed that the fight was. It was 50 minutes, but it gets the job done. He's not about speed. Most Mystic characters aren't about really high, quick damage. They're about buff control, and I think Mojo does that really well. He has a ton of sustainability, like I already talked about, and his damage ramp up can reach high levels. I like the fact that his degeneration is not only the fact that it's degeneration so that it can work on anyone, but it's also passive. Overall, I really, really enjoyed Mojo, despite being one of the most interesting looking characters in the game, more so than Warlock in my opinion. I really I wasn't expecting much from him, and I enjoyed him, I think, more than Longshot. I wasn't a big fan of Longshot because of that kind of heavy spam that he does, but Mojo, you just play him like normal. You hit a couple prompts now and then, and you're golden. So that is going to do it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you have something you want me to test out with Mojo, I have him for a couple more days, so let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.